Tomorrow show. 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 Oh yeah. Tomorrow show. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Don't you got that singer? You gotta sing that live, right? You do that?
The Tomorrow Show.
Oh shit, that's probably good.
Woo! The Tomorrow Show.
That's awesome.
Yes, it's like sweet nectar. It's so good. The Tomorrow Show, AC. That little jingle, that little intro. Woo! How you doing?
Chilling, man. What's good? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. It's been a very eventful week for all of us in the network, all the people new to the network, all the people taking part in the Stream for Hope Cup. And man, it's my man Skramsky been working the hardest.
Yeah,
Come
man.
here, baby. Come here. And here's Manny. You're not gonna bark during the show, are you? I guess it's all you know how to do is talk that way. It's a dog broadcast today.
Yeah, it is.
Welcome back. The Tomorrow Show. AC at the Beat Lab, kicking it at the studio. I'm at home. Erin D's on her way home. Just so cool that we get to join you 2 weeks in a row this May. Usually, as you know, we do the show every other week. So, but it was a momentous week. And for those of you that may be joining us for the first time, the Tomorrow Show is a show where we really lift up the mission of the Hope for Us network, spreading proactive prevention, talking about mental health, creating the largest networks we can, and then pushing it a little bit further by celebrating music, art, family, expression, all the things that get us through to tomorrow. Celebrate dogs, celebrate hats, celebrate whatever you can think of. So chime in. Whatever's giving you hope, whatever is getting you through to tomorrow. Because together, there's hope for us, right, AC?
There's hope for us all day, every day.
Yeah, man. Oh, it has been a special week of community, really, as today is the final day of the Stream for Hope Cup. Extremely grateful for all the people using their platforms to amplify the network's mission, because there's hope for us, all of us. Yeah. And it was really cool to see everybody doing their own thing on their own channels, talking that hope and spreading the word, spreading resources. So what's gotten you through the last couple weeks, chat? What's gotten you through the last couple weeks, AC?
This dog.
Yeah.
Music. Lots of cool podcasts.
You showed me a great record this week.
You sorry?
When I got to come by and hang out, the honor of being in the studio with you, you played me A$AP Rock.
Oh yeah.
That album Labor Days. You played a cutoff there. That was very story like. It was about Lucy. Yeah.
Yeah. About the song is by, like Mike said, by an artist called A$AP Rock, not to be confused with A$AP Rocky or whatever that guy's name is. A$AP Rock.
That's confusing.
The song is called No Regrets, and it's a story. It's pretty much a 3-part story about a young lady named Lucy, and follows her from her childhood to the middle of her life, pretty much all the way up into the end. And it's I think it's a fantastic story. If you haven't heard it, definitely try and check it out. But
I too recommend it. Thanks for
It's
sharing it with me.
it's a great story. I would also, there's so many great songs, like story wise. I could go on and on. Slick Rick is probably one of the greatest storytellers ever. Biggie, of course. You know, you could listen to a Biggie song and actually think that you were right there. Another kind of an interesting story song is Atmosphere's got a song called "The Woman with the Tattooed Hands," and
Mm.
that's a very very deep song. Um, but I could go on and on for
Yeah, man.
songs like that.
Shout out to all the storytellers that take the stories and set them to really really cool music. From the Erica Badu's to Buck 65 to the folk singers and everything, and on down the line to what we talked about with the with that John Batiste record. Just like being able to pass on these cultural traditions and story through music. So that's pretty wonderful that you got to share some of that modern stuff with me. And you know what else has got me through the last couple weeks is like really just like silly stuff that you find on the internet. Sometimes it's dog videos for me. Sometimes it's cats or animal critters of all kinds. But sometimes it's just like the stupidest memes. You know what I mean? So, AC, I want to share some really ridiculous memes with you that made me laugh. They
Yeah,
came
man,
from
light it up.
Carl. They came from Carl, and little things like this. I want you to pick your favorite. There's 7 of them. If I'm not
Seven.
mistaken, seven. Count them 7. So anyway, I
Hey,
want
too bad
I
it's not
want
5.
you want it to be 5. We could just do top 5.
No. It can be 7. I'm saying it's too bad it's not 5.
Why?
Ask me a question.
AC, what's your favorite color?
Fifth.
You plead the 5th. Oh man. Oh boy. Well, so check this out.
Yeah.
There's 7. There are 7 of these, and they come from an artist named Arcane Low who makes digital art and has a whole page you can follow on Instagram at Arcane Memes. Scott, can you please pull up the first one? Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks for moving that cloud over, buddy. Hey, if you couldn't tell, that's Dog the Downey Jr. Oh boy.
All right.
I'll just take that in. All right.
Okay.
All right. So what's next? What's next? Ooh boy.
Ooh.
With Jurassic Park being making a comeback with the 3rd installment.
I don't know
of the
about
new
that
trilogy.
one. That
Yeah,
one.
Whoopi Goldblum.
That would give me nightmares. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, let's keep moving before we have a nightmare.
Please.
Maybe not his favorite. It's Jim Curry.
That one looks so believable though.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, if you don't know who Tim Curry is, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Clue the movie, bunch of other shit. Awesome actor, and of course the Ace Ventura character played by and created by most likely Jim Carrey. Yeah, that's pretty good. Just giving some context for this art. All right, next.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Dr. Dre.
The funny thing is that if I didn't almost know better, I would almost think this was like an outtake from one of those Eminem videos.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. But
that's great. I'm into that.
I'm into that too. There should be a black Spock, right? Come on.
I'm into that.
Spock to Dre.
Somebody
love it.
Somebody let Trey know.
Yeah, definitely.
Cube. Screenwrite it. Do it. Put out
Definitely.
the soundtrack. Make it happen.
I mean, yeah, hip hop Star Trek would be pretty mega.
As long as they don't do it like Soul Plane.
Yeah.
That was
It would have to
rough.
be done with great care. You are
Yeah.
absolutely right. Oh man. All right, what's next? Oh, woo!
That's fire.
That's for the pro wrestling fans out there. That's my man Ric Flair matched up with Nicolas Cage, who also has been kind of in the news, right? There's that new movie that he's in. Apparently very good.
One with Tiffany Haddish in it?
The new one that is, I don't know exactly who's in the new Nick Cage movie off the top of my head, but I know he's in it. And it's like The Unbearable Weight of Extraordinary Talent is the name of it, I think.
Is it like loosely based about him?
Yeah, it's supposed to be just off the rails bonkers. So yeah, there it is. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And the dude that's in it was from that I recognize from like Game of Thrones. He seems like a real off the wall character in it too. But you're right. There, that looks like Tiffany Haddish there.
Yeah,
on the
Tiffany
poster.
Haddish. So the one dude holding the two guns, I feel like I also saw him in a movie with the Denzel, like The Equalizer or something, maybe.
I don't know, man. He's a good actor. He's a good ass actor. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, it looks like it'd be a pretty fun movie to see. So I had to throw that meme in there.
I like it.
Nick Cage has been on my mind. He's just a weird dude, man. If you're ever needing a pick me up, I guarantee you, if you like a little kind of odd sense of humor, you would love just looking up Nick Cage clips, like because he overacts kind of like on purpose.
Yeah,
like
dude.
even in like articles and interviews and stuff with him, he's like, people don't want to see me be realistic. They you know, they could go out in the street and see somebody that's realistic. He's like, I'm gonna go over the top fucking every time. So that's why I feel like this is pretty fitting.
He's so good. I couldn't imagine hanging out with that dude, man.
I lost track. Is that 7?
I don't think that's 7. More? I think we're on like 4 or 5.
Okay. We're gonna have to bust these back out when I get my sister on here too, because
that's it. Oh! Okay.
Oh boy.
Wait, Danny DeVito.
Right.
So is this supposed to be
That's supposed to be Eminem and Danny DeVito. Stanny DeVito.
That's just so wrong. Unlike so
For
many
those of you that don't get the joke,
it almost looks like
Stan was a big Eminem song.
It almost looks like, I don't know, Jonah Hill in like another 20 years.
Oh man, it is something. It really is. But Danny DeVito and his character Frank and Always Sunny is a real treat. But that dude, Danny DeVito, as a human being, he just seems like he'd be hella cool to hang out with too, because he's just like,
man,
he's been successful his whole career, but like it seems like he's never gotten to the place where he's just an asshole. He's just like having a good time. He's like, he knows how he hit the jackpot, you know what I mean? And he like has like deep gratitude for it. It would seem. But he's good, man. He's the fucking Penguin. He was like a scary motherfucking Penguin in Batman Returns.
It was good.
So yeah, that is scary and will also haunt me, Skramsky.
Yeah.
Is there any more, or was that the last one? Parks and Recs fans and wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, Dwayne The Rock Swanson.
That's
Ron Swanson, baby.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I'm surprised how natural it looks, actually.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of
yeah. So good Photoshop and arcane memes.
Nice.
Your digital art helped me get through. I don't know if I could pick a favorite. AC, are you able?
I'm gonna have to say it's a tie between this one and the Nick Flair.
Cool.
To be honest,
If I had to choose, I'd probably go with Black Spock. What was it? It was Spock or Dre.
Dr. Dre. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a good one.
Oh man.
Real quick, the really funny one about the Nicolas Cage one is I feel like you might see that dude look like that anyways on any given day.
Yeah, he might just go out for groceries in that outfit.
Like,
yeah, that's a dude that's saying, hey, anybody trying to like put me in a box, I dare you, because I'm gonna do the weirdest commercials you've ever seen for a Japanese casino game called Pachango. That's true. If you look up like the supercut of all the Japanese Pachanga commercials that he's done, it's a treat as well. Sometimes I'll just give myself a chuckle that way. So yeah, just pretty silly stuff out there. Oh, there he is doing his best. Tom Waits.
I'm Nicolas Cage, and this is a song for you. My favorite thing. Blue jeans, see a red-haired girl. Sweet peanut butter, slow burning candle. Cup of tea and a good book. The dance of the reindeer, and also Pachango.
So Sanyo, I don't actually even know. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, there's another one?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them, man.
Oh,
and
dude.
Each one is more bizarre than the last, almost.
Man.
Like if you watch them in the right order, I suppose. But actually, you could go a little more. You want to go a little more?
Mr. Cage, should we have your autograph?
All right. So, you're twins.
No, we're triplets.
Triplets?
And then everybody's triplet.
What?
So yeah, it's like a game, like with metal, like these little metal balls. It's some sort of casino game. It's weird, but I'm gonna say you can take your own time to spend with all the weird Nick Cage content out there on the internet. There is a lot of it. Last thing I'll say about Nick Cage, I don't know why we got so stuck on Nick Cage.
Because he's amazing.
He's pretty cool after all. That there was a oh man, what was that name? Oh, Con Air. You ever seen that movie where he's got like the like kind of like ridiculous hair, and then he's like got this really bad country kind of like the voice he uses. But John Malkovich is in that.
Yeah, dude.
And he's so scary. He's like such a cool little creepy villain. Oh man,
dude, he's so good in that movie. That whole movie.
Look at that hair. Look at that hair.
Here's the thing. One of the best cheesiest scenes in that movie is when he gets off the plane and he's like basking in the sunlight and his hair is going in the wind. He's like, dude.
Yeah, totally. Like,
oh man.
I mean, it's actually like it kind of holds up actually as far as an action flick goes, because I think we've all kind of come to expect a certain quality in our action films, like where they're just like almost over the top to the point of cheese. But this was made in a time, I think, where like it wasn't quite as self-aware, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. They just did a good job with this film.
Dude, it was so good. You had the Buscemi in it.
Buscemi was in it.
It was dude, my favorite
scene. Good one to revisit.
What's that?
It's a good one to revisit. If me and you worked at a Blockbuster right now, and we had the employee section, like AC's picks, Mike's picks, I would be putting Con Air VHS on mine every time.
Yes.
every time.
Absolutely. And you had the Cusack in it.
And the Cusack, yeah.
He was dope in it. Dude, that was such a great movie.
Well, I'm glad we could share this Nick Cage moment. That's hilarious. Let's move on with the actual real important stuff. Not that Nick Cage isn't important. He just doesn't need us to give him the old Tomorrow Show bump. He's doing fine.
He's fine.
He's doing fine.
He's fine.
Today's show, we're gonna be like taking a look back on the Stream for Hope Cup, some of the highlights, and we'll remind you about the Raising the Visibility series that Carl Evans has now done 2 episodes of. They're all about different intersections with mental health, and so we'll give you like a little tiny peek at that. Then later we're going to have the very talented and funny Lauren Vino joining us to chat about writing. She writes about men's mental health quite often, men's health in general, well-researched topics, but also manages to make them funny and just an amazing writer, but excellent stand-up comedian as well. Will be here later in the show. It just happens to be my sister too, but full disclosure. She rules, and AC, you've gotten to see Lauren Vino in action, yeah?
Yep.
We went to
hilarious.
Best Night Ever. We went to Best Night Ever.
Best Night Ever. The outdoors Logan Square thing or Palmer.
Oh
Square
yeah, we
thing.
saw her outside in the park in Palmer Square. That was awesome.
And then there were definitely, I feel like there were definitely a couple things pre-pandemic too.
Oh, definitely. She's now in Chicago. She was in New York, but just been killing it, and it'll be fun to chat. So stay tuned for that. As May winds down, this is very important. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. As May winds down, do not stop talking, y'all. Use this momentum to help advocate for transformational change in how we deal with our health together. Like, for real. Just as May winds down, don't stop talking, y'all. We can continue to amplify our voices and the voices of others, the perspectives of others, most importantly, so that we can fill in the blind spots we all have and do better as a society instead of a suicidity. Come on, man. Like, this is something we can do, is talk about the problems with the system and try to come to some solutions. So keep talking 24/7, 365, especially on the days that you're feeling up to it. If you're not feeling up to it, you should talk in a different way to people that you feel safe around and kind of let off some of that stress just through talking and being heard. So, today's going to be a little bit different. Erin D will get home from work whenever she gets home from work. AC's over in the studio. But we're going to show you some cup highlights now. The Stream for Hope Cup, if you didn't know what it was a week-long activation of a bunch of gamers and people with platforms on streaming places like Twitch. And it's really cool to see a community come together that way, because you can touch every point of the globe through Twitch and gaming and different expression outlets like that. So there was a lot of fun incentives that they worked on to try and encourage people to support the charity streams. I saw clips of them playing Bean Boozled. You ever played Bean Boozled, AC? With this like jelly bellies, the little jelly beans. And it's like you basically spin or like roll a dice for a certain bean.
Okay.
So say it's a green one or a blue one. Well, it could be a yummy flavor like a blueberry or like a green apple, or it could be like a gross flavor like a booger or a toothpaste or something like that. Pretty hilarious game. I played it with some friends years ago, and it was a fun way to see these streamers interact with their community and be like, all right, you donated this much, now we're gonna play Bean Boozled, and you're gonna watch me eat a jelly bean that might potentially taste like throw up or something like that. So Pretty cool. They did a lot of other cool stuff that you're gonna see here in this little clip. But I just want to take this time again to just say how appreciative we are at the network for you all doing your thing. Just Julia 94 was on Hope Lounge. Thanks for joining there. And then you're gonna see Just Julia talk about what an amazing supporting friend the Ninja Shark is, Tony. And then you're gonna see Tony getting people hype in his stream. Let's roll that cup highlights clip first, and then we'll do the guardrail clip after that, because shout out guardrail.
Definitely struggle with a lot of depression and anxiety. And some days my anxiety is worse than my depression, and some days the depression is worse than the anxiety. I can definitely tell which one's which. And this week has definitely been an anxiety week because I'm currently, I wanted to make sure everything was set up for the streams and like make sure all my incentives were in. And then I have to make sure nothing at work is falling behind, make sure my dogs are taken care of, all my home chores. And then I'm testing Thursday morning for my CDL license. So I have to think about that as well. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember I called Tony, Ninja Shark, who's also doing the charity. I texted him, or I called him yesterday and was like, dude, I'm freaking out. I'm like losing my mind. I've already like taken 2 of my medications, like, because they told me to take them with however I feel. So I was like, I've never done 2. I've always done my 1, 2, and 2 at night. Well, yesterday was like 2, 2, and 2 because I was like freaking out. I was like, what if nobody joins? Like, what if nobody does anything? I was just freaking out. So he's like, dude, calm down. Nothing is perfect. You'll do great. He's so chill. And that's why I love Tony, because he keeps my head level. And Tony will tell me how it is. Like if I come to him with any situation, he tells me how it is and makes sure I get out of my little bubble. And I'm very thankful for friends like that, because I'm still struggling with my anxiety so far this week, but it's not as bad because yesterday's stream went really, really well. We're at $95.
Yeah, girl.
So I'm sure we'll hit that goal before.
Shark Rave, baby.
Nice job, Julia. This is the guy she says chill. He's super chill, right? I bet he is. I'm just joking around though about the juxtaposition. Shark Rave. Hey Tony, go off. Ninja Shark. Pretty amazing. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that height.
But so here's the Stream for Hope Cup. This is where you could find me, Julia, Ninu, Dexal, Megan, Scramsky, and Rage Much. So these are the 7 of us that are doing this charity fundraiser, that are featured. Excuse me. I'm sure there's a lot of other people also doing the charity in general. But yeah, there's the 7 of us that are being featured.
Yeah, dude. That's cool, right?
So the first clip I actually got to watch.
Oh, yeah?
I actually saw that.
You got to see a little bit of that Hope Lounge?
Yeah, I saw that. I had actually, like, that particular segment. I was like, oh, yeah, I definitely watched that.
That's great, man. Yeah. Just Julia seems to be a huge Beartooth fan, and like that seems to be some of the common ground in which, aside from streaming, that they've met a lot of really dope people. And I'm sure you've had experiences like that, going to see a band that you love, and then all of a sudden from that, like, there's a bloom of like activity and like connection that you end up making.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool though. Like, and I just thought it was funny that I picked that Shark Rave clip right after like Julia had been like, he's so chill. But yeah, I watched a good chunk of his stream, and he is super chill, and he played games, and he'd like pump up the music. But man, he had like all sorts of crazy hype emotes happening all over his screen, and like there was like this metal scream that would happen like every time somebody would like cheer some bits or like donate to the fundraiser. But yeah, real pro.
I'm like watching that clip and I'm like, dude, aren't you hot? Like I would be.
Oh yeah,
hot
he lasted a good while though. He lasted a good while, and then he was like, "All right, fuck this. This is too hot."
Jumping around with that thing on, man. Like,
Yeah,
props to him.
They don't make really good breathable shark costumes these days.
No.
Cotton, the touch, the feel of cotton. But yeah, thanks a lot to all the other streamers that Dex was on our show last week and just had a great conversation with Dex too. So you can go back to any of those streamers and watch their replays because there's value in a lot of like the content there. There's people being vulnerable. There's people supporting each other. There's people trying to cultivate safe spaces on the internet. And there's people that will stand up and have your back rather than trolling you and making you just feel like all of the energy has been sucked out of you. So it's really cool to see that. And Dex, thanks again too for being just so dope last week. So watch last week's Tomorrow show, listen to that conversation with Dex Howell, because I think there's just so much wisdom from that conversation. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, like,
sure. Yeah,
just some of the things he was saying about streaming and what it means for him and the interactions he has. It's really, really great, and it's yeah. I can't say enough good stuff. So thanks everybody. Well, let's see. Oh, on that Hope Lounge, you saw also Ben, our boy Ben, just being awesome.
Yep.
What you didn't see was Kate Smith talking about One Woman Hamlet and their Illinois tour, that one woman show with puppets and Shakespearean stigma on mental health. Really cool shit. So do what you can to support One Woman Hamlet and Kate Smith and all the creations that they're responsible for. You saw Christina Bravo on that broadcast, just like a very, very humble designer, making it look at all great, making the overlays, making the logo, the Tomorrow Show logo, making the t-shirts, the Have Hope for Us Network shirts. The Chicago shirt is dope. So good job, Christina. And then Christina has homies in a band called Guardrail. Hashtag Diet Punk. They are like all about their Diet Punk, and they're all about the community, and they have a really awesome energy that they bring to the table when they join a Hope Lounge, when they play at a venue and just rip up the stage. So pretty cool that Guardrail was on that Hope Lounge as well. So let's see that highlight from this past week. Shout out Guardrail.
Rehearsal is just like when I leave, I'm like recharged. When I go to a show, whether I'm playing it or just going to it, I feel refreshed afterwards and kind of just revitalizes everything. And then any like frustrations or anything that I'm going through, I can kind of take out that energy at these shows that we play, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, I've definitely talked about this before, where like shows are like the ultimate release for me, where it's like that's like the one thing that truly like refuels my soul. And like I know I've talked a lot about like how like during the pandemic having that taken away was like super jarring, because it was like this was the one thing I did. What do I do now?
Oh man, that's like an arrow through the heart to hear Zach say that, because I don't know. I know you can relate. I know that I relate a great deal to that statement. I was just like, this was one thing that really helped me deal with all the stuff inside, and now I don't have it right now, and oh boy, I could sure use it. You remember those moments at the spring of 2020 where you're like realizing, oh, this isn't like going away like this week or this month. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I put my I put all my I think after the first four weeks, I actually like packed up a lot of my road gear and just shoved it in the back of my studio. It was like, I don't know when we're playing, and it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. So let me put the stuff somewhere else. Have more room in my apartment, I guess.
Yeah, man. And it was just pretty. Hello. Hi there. Guess who's here? Erin D. Erin D. MC Erin D. in the house, y'all. Yeah. So I just to kind of like wrap that up. It was really great to be a fly on the wall in that conversation in the Hope Lounge because they covered a lot of ground. It wasn't just all talking about mental health. They were also, just talking about bands they love. Just Julia was talking about this Guar bar that's like a couple hours away from where they live, and how like there's just like blood splatters on the wall and like props from Guar shows and stuff like that. And like they had really dank looking food and a bunch of really delicious beer. So like they were talking about bands they love and performances they've seen, and so that's worth going back and having a watch or tuning into future Hope Lounges because it's more of that. But then also go and check out the stream from the Ninja Shark. That was so fun. Dex Howell streams daily at 7 p.m. Eastern. Always a good time. And Just Julia, I'm not positive of their stream schedule, but go watch their streams from this week. They did all sorts of cool stuff to support this work we're doing, and that we're going to keep doing and keep doing bigger. So pretty awesome. Thank you everybody that was involved. Did you get to see Carl's second episode of Raising the Visibility, AC?
I only got to see probably the first 10 minutes, and then I had to bounce out.
It was stacked, man. There was well, just for anybody watching this now or in future days, basically Raising the Visibility is really taking on a huge challenge, and that's breaking down institutional stigmas, like the way that there's bias in the system, all the systemic issues that get in the way of people getting access to appropriate mental health supports, appropriate health care before they reach the point of crisis. So in doing so, you got to kind of take it down into parts. And so in this next clip, where we're going to kind of just give you a little taste of RTV, Raising the Visibility, he lays out the whole season 1 plan and the topics that they're going to hit on. This week, they talked about the intersection of age and mental health and the biases that are in play and prevent people from being believed in their experiences or being supported or, getting access to care, all that stuff. And episode 1 is still available, as well as are all of our broadcasts on the YouTube. So follow Hope for Us Network on all of those platforms so you can educate yourself through these lived experience conversations. There's always a lived experience panel, and there's always an expert that they do like a little bit of a rundown setup before the panel on these episodes. And it's very informative, and it's always there if you want to just kind of take it down in like little chunks, like you might when you're listening to a podcast or whatever. I think that's a really like a nice option rather than just like binging a show you've seen before, or maybe watching something that's like full of bullshit when it comes to how it portrays mental health. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's roll that clip. RTV.
In Raising the Visibility, we want to focus on the community and institution side in this season. And last week, if you had the pleasure of joining us, we talked about body image. And this week, we're talking about age. Following up next week on the 26th, closing out our May Mental Health Awareness Month, we're going to be talking about bias in our institutions towards sexual orientation. We'll be on a small little 1 week break. And then on June 9th, we're going to be talking about gender identity and bias. And then on June 16th, we're going to be talking about the intersection of ethnicity and our institutions. And finally, in the last episode of season 1 of Raising the Visibility, we're going to be talking about a show titled Dollars and Cents. We're going to be talking about the economics of mental health. Who can afford to be ill? That's wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. And our guests, Gianna, Roger, Leo, Ryan, Marlo, Dimple, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, man. Look at that stacked panel. Holy moly. I couldn't pull a quote of each of them. It would have been just too dense. But I do encourage everybody to go watch that and hear what all those people had to say. Some old friends up in that panel too. We had Ryan on for a chat on the Tomorrow Show. I don't know, was that a month ago? Something like that?
Something like that.
And just a wonderful dude. Really great chat with him. If you want to watch that on YouTube or just watch this panel, because he has a lot to say about how age plays a role. How has age played a role for you, man? Like, do you feel like how people treated you and your mental health experiences when you were young and how they do now are different?
I think it's different because when I was young, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything you talked about, you know?
That's legit, man.
If you did talk about it, you were crazy, or, you know, you were misunderstood, or, you know, you had issues. So, you know, back then, you know, it wasn't a thing. You know, nobody ever talked about it, you know? It's kind of like, excuse me, it's kind of like in a weird way, like back in the day, like if your favorite artist canceled a show at the last minute, you know, usually like one of the things I feel like you would hear in the press release on the news or something was like, they had exhaustion.
Exhaustion, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's damn. I never really thought of that. Yeah, I remember that shit.
You know, but really, no, they're going through some things, and back then you couldn't be on the news being like, oh, this person's having, you know, a bad day, or they've been having anxiety attacks all day, or, you know, so and so had a panic attack, you know, during sound check or whatever, you know. You know, so yeah, I think it's different because back then, like, wasn't a thing, wasn't talked about, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's also like a piece that hasn't changed very much, like through time, where like if you're young, you lack the vocabulary and the understanding to be able to say, hey, I'm not feeling good, but it's not my tummy, and it's not my, you know, I don't have a cough or the sniffles. I don't feel good. And it's like my mind, and it's my stress, and it's my emotions. And then you grow up to a certain point and you're like an adolescent kid, you're going through puberty, and they're like, that's the perfect excuse for everybody. Oh, they're this age, they'll grow out of it. And then you get to college age and they're like, oh, they're just finding themselves and they're just partying a little bit. That's what people do in college if you're lucky enough to be able to go to college, you know?
Yeah.
But there's like all these points throughout your life where there's plenty of excuses that society will make rather than acknowledge the reality that everybody has a hard time once in a while. And some people have a hard time a lot more frequently. And that doesn't make them less of a person. That means that they have a medical experience. They have something going on with one of their most important organs. So I think it's just so easy for people to use age, doesn't matter what age you are, to throw it out and be like, oh, just fucking get over it. Like even old timers that are like in their 70s and their friends are getting sick or passing away and they're having a hard time. Age can also be used there. Like, come on, like you're getting old. It's like you've seen everything. You're tough. You're fine. Whatever. You should be grateful that you're still healthy. And like that's very well and good. Like it may seem like you're coming from a good place of caring, throwing those one-liners out, but if you really start to step back and look at that, you're just not validating any of their experience. You're not honoring the fact that they're sad, and you're being just another motherfucker that's like, get over it. Yeah, I don't want to sit in the shit with you. Like let's talk about something else. And that's really what the Stream for Hope Cup's about. That's really what the Tomorrow Show's about. That's really what the network stands for. Is sometimes you just want to be silent. Sometimes you just want to be supported. Sometimes you don't want somebody to tell you to get over it. You just want somebody to be like, yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry you're having a hard time, and I know I can't change it, but I'll be right here, Yep. Shit's important. So welcome home. Welcome home. I made some coffee. I know you've probably drinking your weight in coffee at work. I'm talking to Erin over there. She'll be joining us pretty soon. You want to talk to Lauren Vino with us? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just having a little snack. Just having a little after work snack. Yeah. Well, there is so much that we could continue to talk about as far as that intersection, but they've done such a good job on that episode of RTV. A lot of cool different perspectives represented on that big old panel you saw, including an expert one who is also a human being. So Dr. Patel, thanks for joining in. And tune into the upcoming Raising the Visibility episodes, because Carl Evans, if you don't already know, is a wealth of knowledge, not only because he's a lived experience advocate that's been just fierce all the years I've known him, but he's also just a brilliant dude with some ideas of how we can transform how we talk about and how we deal with mental health in our communities. And I look forward to seeing the changes that we can enact together in the years to come. So thanks again, Carl, for doing what you do and wrangling all these fierce people that are here for the right reasons. It's pretty kick-ass. There's hope for us, right?
So much.
Cool. Well, so before we get Lauren out here, Lauren's probably kicking it backstage, having a sparkling water, maybe putting her feet up. I don't know. Maybe petting her dog. Also bringing another dog on the show, most likely. But I want to play just a short little highlight reel, just a couple jokes, intersecting with mental health from Lauren's stand-up act, from her YouTube channel and stuff like that. So let's roll those so you can kind of get to know just that bit of flavor, and we'll talk about a bunch of her writing as well. Let's do that. Oh boy, I can't hear it. Oh no.
World is dogs. I love dogs. I don't know if you could pick that up from my vibe. No, I'm obsessed with. But my favorite thing in the world is dogs with jobs. I love it when dogs have jobs. Sounds a little, whatever. But I think the reason I love it when dogs have jobs is because my favorite dad joke is just telling house pets to get a job. But every so often, a dog fires back with well, actually, I'm a therapist. I help blind people. What do you do?
stand-up. I do. I know it's cheesy. I got very weird the past year and change without it. I was one of those people who like panicked in quarantine and started learning how to make everything from scratch. Did anyone else do this? Yeah. I learned how to make bread. I learned how to make salad dressing. I learned how to make chicken stock. I learned how to make pretty much everything except for serotonin. Wow, you guys too? Where are my depressed people at? All right. Not the typical reaction for depression, but I'll take it. Do you feel me or anything at all?
All right, yeah. So there's a little bit of Lauren's stand-up. Let's bring her out. Lauren Vino, everybody, on the Tomorrow Show.
Hello. Hi, family.
What's up?
How are you guys?
I'm good.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
I have a sparkling water. I went to Trader Joe's this morning.
I called it so hard.
I'm trying a new flavor. It's watermelon lemonade, and I'm not sure if I like it or like I don't. And that's always weird.
Yeah.
I've had the blueberry lemonade from Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. I'm like, this is good, right?
I don't think I can
think this is good.
Oh, Toddy's saying hi already. We might.
Hi, baby.
I'm gonna let Kate to the ground because she can obviously recognize your guys' voices.
She's a sweet little sausage.
My sausage. Say
We're
hi.
relocate to dog level. We got one right here. Did you see Toddy? Did you see Toddy out there? She's not out. She's not out the window. She's on the screen. So
I just sat on a speak toy.
So I don't know. Do you remember the show at Zany's that joke's pulled from?
Yeah, it's funny because I forgot that it's still online. This is just like a weird detail, but the audience isn't mic'd, so it's like a awkwardly quiet thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck, I gotta take that off. Sorry for swearing.
No, you can swear all you want.
Sweet.
And I noticed that, but like, at the same point, I think that the way you turn the mic and stuff like shows how that isolated sound, and even with the two clips, like the sound's drastically different, and like there's such a benefit to having that isolated audio for yourself. But I get how like
I've noticed that too, where comics, even if they're getting someone else to tape it, will still record the audio as like a backup, and that's the reason. But
Wow, it's so cool you get to do Zany's. How many different Zany's locations are there in the Chicagoland area? Just two?
I think there's just two now. There used to be three. I'm almost positive that's true. So I think it's just Old Town in the city, and then Rosemont. There used to be one in St. Charles, but I believe that closed.
Are you back at Zany's anytime soon?
I don't have any Zany's dates coming up. I have a couple Laugh Factory ones I can play.
I almost pulled a clip from Laugh Factory, but I just wanted to keep it tight. The other clip was from Tip Top. Was that in New York?
Yeah, that was a while ago, but I forgot about that joke too. And that was a fun little short set. So those are always fun to do. Toddy's shaking. She's like a little politician.
Get a job.
It's her only move. She's just standing here being like.
Yeah. What was Tip Top all about?
That was like a tape show where sometimes they don't do it that much here. They do it, but they would do it sometimes in New York where you would just they would just book comics specifically to record their sets to send out places. So sometimes like I feel like those crowds are a little bit like a lot of friends. So it's like an enthusiastic. It's like not that all shows are like positive, but it's probably a more positive vibe than like on further on that end of the spectrum.
Like you don't feel like you got to win them over as much.
Yeah, well, everybody knows that you're what you're there for. I guess if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally.
And so it's like the less likelihood of someone being at a comedy show for the first time and rowdy and disruptive. I guess you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Or like not knowing how to laugh.
Yeah, it's similar. I would say it would be like the amateur comedian equivalent of like having your own audience who like pays to come see you and is well behaved because of that. Because like when you're on a mid level, you're kind of walking into anything a lot of times, even at like more professional type of clubs, because like a lot of people are just coming to see what a comedy show's like. And some people are comedy nerds, some people like have been before, but a lot of times it's just like a lot of drunk people thinking that like would be a fun night, and that can be fine, and that can also be disruptive. So you don't want to.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's not easy to be a stand-up comic at all, and like you got to be on your toes, I'm sure, for situations in which like the crowd is totally being buttholes. But you've been doing it for a long time. When did you start?
I don't know exact start date, but it's definitely been more than 10 years. There was a stop in the middle when I was in New York and like making the jump to writing full time. There's probably like a good 9-10 months where I just didn't do it. So it's like I don't really have a linear, but it's definitely more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those early shows? Like you were in Chicago, then you went to New York, and then you came back to Chicago. I remember seeing you pretty early on, but like what's one of your earlier memories of doing stand-up?
I mean, like my first, I think like there's like, do you want a good one or a bad one?
That's a good question. Good one or bad one?
My first like sort of early experience was my guess is not atypical in the sense of like I had thought about it for a long time. I had been to like either really, really professional like shows. I remember taking mom and dad to see Daniel Tosh at the Laugh Factory, but was the Lakeshore Theater back then. So I was
no shit.
I was definitely like a comedy nerd and like had like thought about what it would be like to do it and visualized it for probably a long time. And then I had dabbled in like the Second City improv-y world and was kind of burnt out on that and looking for something new. So the first place I went to, I think this bar still exists. Correct me if I'm wrong. Gallery Cabaret.
Oh yeah, it closed and then it reopened because like the quarantine just crippled it, and then they remodeled and it's back open. I remember seeing you there.
No, there were a couple places like that like you thought they were gone and then they came back.
Yeah, I'm glad they're not.
But so they had a mixed comedy music open mic, and I did it the first time, and it went like it wasn't amazing, but it was like one of those things where I had built it up in my head a long time. I had probably like over prepared, and it went fine, but it felt amazing. and like probably more like grandiose, like at the time, in the sense of like feeling like, okay, it's always going to feel like this. And then coming immediately back and bombing and being so distraught. And I think that's like not uncommon of like, some people have a bad first set, but I think a lot of times, a lot of people think about it for a long time, and you'll get like a little bit more support too, being your first time. And then it's like the second, third, fourth time that really like are like, oh no, and you're still chasing, but you're chasing that thing from the first time. And that's kind of how it gets you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Like how would you describe it? Like an adrenaline high sort of from like attention and laughs.
Yeah.
It's that dopamine. It's all that dopamine.
What?
Sorry.
I feel like you guys said something at the same time, and
I just shouted like a jerk. I just shouted dopamine like I was a rapper. Dopamine, you get that dopamine. That's my bad. My bad.
It is. It's like that flow state or whatever. There's different ways to get that, but there's like, I think the terrifying thing, and I don't think it's ever like this for everybody. I think some people have better temperaments or different temperaments, I guess, for it. But I think it's like with, at least for me on stand-up, you could have that and it feels amazing, or it's this like disassociative, like panic thing of like, fuck, I am doing terrible. I can't get out of this, and you're just kind of like short circuiting in front of a bunch of people. I've had that too, like that is, I mean, that's not every bomb, but that's like at least how I would describe a bomb, like how I would qualify it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
When did you know you were funny?
That's a good question. I think I've always, because it's a strange thing as a girl, I think to like, well, not strange. It's not something different, traditionally encouraged or supported, but you guys, like our family's a little weird. And I think like, I guess I've never not thought of myself as funny.
Yeah.
But I think probably the camping trips we would take with the dads was probably the first time I really like noticed I enjoyed like making what I perceived as a hard, difficult crowd like laugh. And that was like dad, like, you know, and that kind of is interesting now when I like look at my professional life, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, totally. Well, the patriarchy intersects with all of the lines of work, I'm sure. But like comedy's no different, and like this notion that girls being funny is unusual, I think is what like you're touching on, and like that's changed a lot. But you know, when you first started out, I'm sure that there was a lot more kind of pressure just being a woman and like trying to, you know, make dad laugh, or you know, a tough crowd of a bunch of comics that are all like buddies, like from way back in the day or something like that. You know what I mean?
Totally. And then there was like your classic stuff too of like, I definitely would get in trouble at school for just being like a little like disruptive or whatever. But also like, I think I never got like conventionally diagnosed with like ADHD, but they definitely like observed me pretty hard for it for like a little while. Like I remember it. And it was mostly like a combination of being like that, like Venn diagram of being like disruptive, a class clown type, and being like wildly disinterested in anything like homework, like related or whatever. Or like, I remember mom getting in like a fight with a like 3rd or 4th grade teacher because I just like, I would do my work and I just wouldn't put my name on it. Like I was just like that kid, and part of it was probably me being ditzy, but I do think that there was a part of like it just being like a, you know, a screw you to authority kind of thing of just like, I hate that I have to do this. You know, my handwriting, like this is just a step that is unnecessary. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's always been kind of like that.
Yeah. What kind of like class clown stuff would you do?
Just a lot of talking out of turn.
Yeah.
And probably being that kid, if I had to like imagine what it was like from an adult's perspective, of the kid who was like, would start off like commenting the right way, and then they'd be like, okay, we got to talk to someone else, you know? And it would start off like kind of like that. And then I would get probably pissed or like annoyed and maybe overcompensate. And that's when the sort of like disruptive thing would come out, where it was probably just like a lack of self-awareness too, as like a kid, of just being like, yeah, they gotta call in some other people, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That's amazing. Lauren did like a lot of theater stuff.
Yeah.
Early on.
And speech
team, yeah, like competitive speech stuff. And I remember this story that mom likes to tell about our grandpa coming to see you in Radium Girls, and he thought since you were like a comedian, like that he was coming to a funny show, and
I die.
yeah, you died. Like, so Radium Girls is this play about the Curies, right? like the people that discovered like that things were radioactive and that could harm us, right?
Yeah.
It was an awesome play. It was like I remember the high school we went to, it was just like one of those things where, and I'm sure this is like a lot of schools, where you kind of just have your theater kids, and there's like a weird hierarchy, and there's like an old teacher who has their favorites, and I just like wasn't one of them. And then there was a new hip teacher when I was like this was my senior year, who was young. Her name was also Lauren. She was like she was the first sort of like bridge between like the speech team sort of theatery kids and the sort of classic like show choiry theatery kids, which I wasn't at all. And she liked me and like got what I like, you know, like she believed in me, I guess, from like a teacher standpoint. And she picked that play, and we had already worked together like a little bit, like in the speech like season. And it was a very intense play. It was about like, I think World War I, and about just like women, like, you know, in the war effort, making like radium dials, which I shouldn't know more, but basically, or getting dials, I think, I don't remember what they were for. I think, but you were like, I think it was something in the paint of something that they were doing in the factory while the men were overseas that was like slowly poisoning them. And they, you know, couldn't get any help. And so basically, so it was a very intense and sad high school play. It was, I had to do an onstage kiss, which was the big deal. And, but the coolest part of it was we had like a really intense like makeup and costume lady, and she was absolutely like one of the more eccentric of like, you know, Christopher Guest characters, if you could put like in this sort of like Waiting for Guffman world. And she was really good at what she did. She was so mean. Like, she should not have been around children. She would say crazy things to like you when she was like measuring you, but she was like from a real theater world. And my point is like the makeup was insane because they had to show like this like weird erosion throughout like the show of just like my face basically like eating itself. And then I was like a 17-year-old and not even take it off because I thought it was funny and just like, you know, like that.
Yes, Mom likes to tell that story because she looks over and Grandpa's just like, just weeping. She's like,
thought you were gonna be funny.
This isn't a comedy.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah. And then, you know, Mom went through that whole roller coaster of like trying to hide Grandpa and Grandma from your comedy.
Oh yeah, good times. I mean, I don't blame them though. Now it's funny because it's like I just did a show for that they went to on Friday, and it's so interesting now because it's like I don't like that. It's just so much cringier when you're new. It's like you definitely go for those like shock things a lot more. It's the deliver. It's just the return on that is not as much. It's like I don't blame them. I just, you know, they're so supportive and loving that they can't help it.
Well, how was that on Friday? I mean, Mom has wanted to come see you do comedy since before she went through this hell of cancer stuff, and so that was the first time she got to come see you in like probably over 2 years, maybe over 3. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it's interesting because it's like I think the more I do stand up, the less I care about people coming to see me, if that makes sense. And it's not like it doesn't mean anything to me. It's just that like it's just like a kind of indifference thing. It's just kind of like I'm gonna go do this. It'll be fun. I'm gonna leave like right after. It's just a really like non-attached thing to it. But I think, but with Mom specifically, it just has more to do with like, yeah, her being able to do it and like enjoy it. Versus like I don't think I would have appreciated that in the same way like before she went through everything she's been through. If that made sense, it would just be it would be like, cool, you guys can come, but like whatever. So I mean, it's something like special in that way. But on the same level that like a lot of things, like I feel like it's kind of like, she just like has all these like new milestones. I don't want to compare it to a kid because I'm not a parent, and I also don't want to like belittle her experience. But it's interesting to get excited about the things that she does, and like, I don't think it's belittling to say that like I get a lot of joy in that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it was at Hey Nani, and is it Hey? Did you settle it? Is it Hey Nani or Hey Noni?
It's Nani, and I tried to riff about it, and no one liked it. It wasn't that bad, but I was just like, nope, okay. They were like a really good crowd in the sense of like they really wanted to hear your bits. Like they didn't really need a lot of like back and forth. And I was hosting, so I kind of had to do that like a little bit. And they weren't like totally turned off by it, but it was just like it was more productive to sort of just be like, hey, what's up? And then, do jokes.
Yeah, mom and dad were like arguing about if it was Noni or Nani.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. But yeah, hosting versus having a set that you're doing, is it pretty different for people that aren't like stand-up comedians?
Yeah, I mean, some comics are just really good at it naturally. I'm not bad at it. It's just that unless I have a regular weekly show I do that on, it's not something that like I think I'm like the person people think of to do that. Like it's not my thing. And it is one of those things where it becomes, even if you're okay at it, and I did well and hosted fine. I'm just better at doing sets. I prefer it. That's like, I think that's like a lot of comics feel that way. But I will say there is something to be said about, I'm running a weekly show is a lot of work. But there is something to be said for hosting a show every week. And like, that just does something that you can't get doing something else, that you can't get the same way doing sets every week. It's just different, you know?
Yeah, it's like a different muscle.
Yeah, and sometimes I wish I had that opportunity to develop that muscle. And then
I think you get, I think it's like a
work.
practice. Yeah, I think it's like a practice thing. Yeah.
And when I was in New York, I think like with running shows in New York, I had like a period of time. Everyone does monthlies there. It's probably because like sustaining a weekly is kind of hard. But at one point I had like 5 or 6 monthlies going at once. And I was like, well, this is besides the point. Like I was hosting all the time, and it did become this version of like what I would think of as autopilot in a bad way, but it was actually like more like where we're describing like that flow state of where I was just not really self-conscious. And because of that, I was able to sort of like interact a lot more spontaneously with like the environment around me and the people that would show up, and just be a little bit like a lot sharper in that way, where I don't think I'm not, but it's just like I miss like being like that quick in those
times. Yeah. Cool.
AC, do you remember any Lauren Vino moments that you've experienced?
I do. I do. I actually, I had I will do the experience first, and then I will ask a question. I think what I like about Lauren's her comedy, which is so refreshing, is that it is refreshing, and it's like every time I see her sets, and I'm not just saying this, it's like, man, they just keep getting doper. Like they're funnier, and the cool thing about it is like just recently when we had seen you at Lincoln Lodge, it was hilarious, and then we had seen you at the outdoors set, and it was funny because you started off your bit with like trying to find a porta potty to use or something because it was outdoors.
I remember that. God.
And then you broke into your set, and I was like, dude, like she is awesome. Whereas like, like that same like show I saw you at before, like I'm like watching the comics, I'm like, they're funny, and then I would like see that same comic like 3 days or a week later or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, and it's like, I saw you do this a bit already. Like,
yeah,
it's like it's still funny, but it's like it's so refreshing to like when I see you, it's like man, that's funny. And it's like, I haven't heard that before. It's like, it almost just feels like your material is just forever like fresh to me, I guess, when I hear it. And that's awesome. Just
That makes me feel so good. Thank you.
I just don't see that with too many comics. So it's awesome. The question, because I know you were saying earlier, like, you know, like as far as like family coming, like, yeah, whatever, you know, whatever. Like, I know as far as me being a musician, and I think Mike might feel this to a certain degree, but I know for me, for sure, like, it doesn't matter how many times I've played a show, how many people, whatever. I still get super, super nervous and super anxious, and it doesn't matter like how many times I've done it. So do you ever feel that nervousness or anxiousness before you go on and do a set? And if so, like, are there things that you do during the day or before you go on to like calm it down?
Yes, that's a really good question, because I do think that like that's sort of like part of me that's like, I don't care if anyone comes, it's whatever, is anxiety, because it's like that feeling of like having a birthday party that no one shows up to, like, but like a couple times a week, like regularly, and it's very strange. And then I think the anxiety thing for me, and especially this thing like talking about new stuff, or like telling a story that's not a written bit or anything, but like the porta potty thing was just that like I had to pee right before my set, and I saw a porta potty in the distance, and I ran to it because like I was going to go up soon, and the porta potty was locked, so I just looked like I had to poop. Like it just looked like I like sprinted to a porta potty, and I was like, no, everyone I have to tell jokes to just saw me run, not just run to a porta potty, but run and then not be able to go because it was locked. And it was just so it's like in some ways it feels like, I mean, in that instinct, it was definitely like the right thing to bring up, because I was just like, but there's been plenty of instances where something like that happens, and I don't want to call out the elephant in the room, and that like that is anxiety, like the avoidance of saying the thing that's happening at the time, of being like, oh no, this drunk guy is out of hand, or like this thing is disruptive, or like a waitress dropped a tray in the back, or whatever. Like the avoidance of that, like being present and in the moment, I think is something I struggle with. I would say, I mean, I don't think it's a unique struggle, but it's something that I interpret other people probably having an easier time with than they probably actually do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm just like, so I think the like best version of that for me is like, not best version, but the worst version is like, if I'm on stage, it's not going well, or even worse, it's not going well, and someone's like shouting at me and I'm not acknowledging it, is like not acknowledging it and not going well, and then continuing to recite jokes like I'm not even there. Like that's probably like the worst type of bomb to me, because it's just like my brain is completely short-circuited.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like I can get that control back, but it is very similar to anxiety, I think, in all environments, where it's like it's very much about breathing. It's very much about deciding ahead of time of like, whatever happens, I'll say it. Like I really have to get myself in a headspace, like you said, asked about preparation, like beforehand, where like I really have to talk myself through of like, I'm gonna acknowledge anything weird that happens, if it happens, even if what I say about it isn't funny, particularly funny and clever. I'm gonna be like in the moment, and I'm not gonna like leave my body. And I'm gonna try like have fun, like even if it's like a total meltdown of like making like those decisions beforehand. And I do think that that's like important. I do think that like there's probably like things like that in my like life that I wish I did that more. But it's also like, if I'm doing a bunch of shows, or if I'm not doing a ton of shows, but I'm busy with other aspects of my life, there's still plenty of times where I'll forget to do that, and I'll get on stage and I'll be in the middle of things and it's not going ideally. It might not even be going terribly, but it's just not, happening.
Sure.
Like it's just like realizing it like in the moment of being like, you have to do it every time. And that's like interesting, but also, it feels tedious sometimes.
Yeah.
I like needing that routine in place. I try not to drink. Like, it depends on a show. Like open mics, bar shows, I might be a little bit more liberal with this, but like, anything where there's a paid audience, I usually won't have more than 1 or 2 drinks ahead of time. I've learned that the hard way of like, when you're just like, when you're as drunk as the audience, that's never like, you can't win.
Oh no.
And for me, it's not even the being drunk and like lashing back. I'm actually more prone to sort of, if I am drunk, just like doing that barrel through thing where I just am not acknowledging anything. I'll almost I guess it depends, but yeah. So there's like those things, but
it's a really it's a really interesting sort of practice and being present and aware and like having to do that, which is so different than like things that aren't live, like if you're doing theater or you're doing music or you're doing stand-up, that's so different than if you're doing a recording of any of those things. Sure. Or if you're and because you just have to be, I don't know, it's almost like meditative.
Yeah. And like, that's why I think stand-up is so difficult and so challenging, is like the vulnerability it requires to step out there just holding a microphone and not having a bass or a drum set or a guitar to like turn up and like just like overpower any motherfucker that's just like shouting or like having a side conversation. You're like, asshole, just go in the other room if you didn't come to see the show. If you're playing an acoustic thing, whatever, maybe that's more of a thing where that really like can throw you off. But a lot of times when I get up there and I've got my guitar and I got my amplifier and I could just turn the fuck up and blow them all away, that kind of removes some of that vulnerability for me. I think it makes it a little bit easier of a performance to take place. And that's why I just have mad props for you and like any other comic that I've enjoyed to get up there and command a room with just your words and like the way that you put those words together, the way you put time into writing those jokes, so like
when you have somebody that is coming to your show, maybe you did this more before, but do you ever think about like which jokes you're gonna say or not?
Definitely, and I try to be more. I'm trying to be better about that too, because it's like, I think when I'm like coming from like a confident place, it's like I have a lot of material and I can give people what they want, and it's like I'm like being like less rigid about like, oh, I want to do these specific things because I'm working on them right now, and then like getting to somewhere and being like, well, there's like a lot of old people here or whatever, and like they're not or and that like being able to be adaptive, I think is important, and it's something I've definitely like learned the hard way. Or when people are coming out to see, it's like tricky in the sense of like, I think when I was like younger, it was both a combination of just not having a ton of jokes to choose from, and like your act is your act, and then that just like, I think creative hubris that you really do need to have in like your first couple of years of doing anything creative, where you're just kind of like, fuck all of you people, like, like, and being willing to say a joke that like my parents might like not want to like hear or whatever, whether it's about like, something that I'm making fun of them for, or whether it's about like me doing drugs or like hooking up with a or something like that. It's just that sort of like, and I started doing stand-up when I was like 22. So, or 23, maybe 23 or 24, but like, I would say towards the end of college, so probably 22. And I think that there's like, I think now I would think of it as more as boundaries in a healthy way of just being like, this is you know. But back then it was a little bit, it was setting a boundary, but it was like a little bit more sloppy of being like, you guys can't have any opinions about this. We're not going to talk about it. And if you want to come out and be supportive, like that's fine. But we're not going to have a discussion. And I feel like now I feel like it's not like it's similar, but it's not as like harsh. Like I want to be able to, I last Friday, I closed on a joke, which is about like the fucking trash compactor. You see me do it. But just like about kids swearing and mom and dad swearing in front of us and whatever. And it was like a very natural thing. Like the set was already going well. And I hadn't made the conscious decision to acknowledge them on stage, but it felt right in the moment. So I was like, I can give it up for my parents. They're here tonight. And it just like worked well with the joke. And that was like my closing joke of the set. I do that joke not a ton. I do it when I have older, more suburban crowds. So I probably would have done it on that set at some point, but I've never closed on it. So it's like that was because they were there, you know? Yeah. And I did a relatively cleaner set, not necessarily because they were there, but that's because it like worked for hosting in that show, like in a suburban environment. So there's like things I try, but when I did a show in Rockford like last year when we were first like starting to get back into like doing stand-up regularly. I hadn't done a long set yet. I had really built up in my head exactly the set I wanted to do. And I got there and it was a bunch of fucking old people and I didn't deviate or adapt at all. And I just bombed for 20 minutes. Mm. I started off because I did the joke I just referenced with about mom and dad. I opened with that did well, and then just like you know what I mean? Yeah. And that was totally my fault. Like there were definitely other jokes that I could have gotten this crowd on my side, and then maybe challenged them a little bit more on the back end once they liked me. But I just did what I wanted to do, and it suffered the consequence.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I bet sometimes it works backwards though, right? Too, like where you have some old people that are just like unexpectedly just loving the raunchiest shit.
Yeah, and I feel selfish as I say it out loud because it's actually way easier to sort of like toe that line with people who do love you and come out to support you. And it feels shitty like when I put it that way, but like with people who don't know you and don't really like care if you feel good about this gig, feeling good about yourself, that for whatever reason hurts more like in the moment, if that makes sense, because there is something that like feels embarrassing. You want to succeed in front of your friends and family who come out to support you, but there is something to the like if someone's going to come out and support you, they're probably in your corner already. Yeah, so like unconditional like safety there and like love there.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wind down, I want to talk about your career as a writer a little bit too. You write for Mel Magazine, but before we do that, Scott, can we bring up those memes from earlier? I want to show Lauren these memes. I want to show Erin these memes.
Oh, I'm scared. I love a meme.
And we'll just have a little chuckle break because you didn't see these. I don't think Lauren saw these yet.
No, but I love a good meme.
So Scott, the arcane memes, yes. Can you zoom in a little bit on that Purdy one? I want you to be thinking about which one's your favorite, Lauren. Which one's you need to think about which one's your favorite, Erin. You too. We got Dog the Downey Jr. Again, this is an artist that's named Arcane Low that does digital art and has arcane memes on Instagram. Carl sent these to me and it helped me get through the week because I just was fucking laughing my face off.
That's Robert Downey Jr.
That is Robert Downey Jr. as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Okay, let's go to the next one. You got one down. Whoopi Goldblum, everybody. What do you think of that one?
The expression is really catching me up.
I think it's yeah.
I can't even look at it anymore.
All right, next one. Let's see here. Oh yeah.
Oh my
Somebody
God.
stop me. All righty then.
I like that.
I kind of like that one too. That's Tim Curry. and Jim Carrey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure you got it.
I'd watch that movie. I'd watch
I
that.
watched
Matt.
that too. It's a reboot waiting to happen.
For sure.
All right, what's the next?
Wow.
Dr. Dre.
So far.
Oh man, it's good. I think we're onto something. I think there needs to be a black Star Trek that is done very with a lot of care. I think that would be amazing.
That one's like flawless.
It's pretty amazing. All right, next. Oh yeah, pro wrestling.
That I
Look
like.
out.
That
Here
is a
comes Nick
biopic I
Flair.
would watch.
Woo!
That's weird.
It's pretty weird. Do you have a favorite pro wrestler, Lauren?
I mean, I've kind of fallen off the wrestling world, but I mean, I really like yeah, there's a lot of really like great female wrestlers. Becky Lynch is really great.
Cool.
Sasha Banks. There was like a lot of really cool up and coming. I was very into like the Shield guys when they were a thing, but it was like Roman Reigns and
Lauren went to a pro wrestling
Dean
school
Ambrose, who's
for an
John
article,
Moxley now. Yeah, I went through a pro wrestling phase. I had a big John Moxley crush, but that's like obvious. It's just like
oh hell yeah,
very cliche.
All right, what's next?
Wow.
Danny DeVito. We got Eminem and Danny DeVito.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I hate that one.
This one is, I think, everyone's least favorite.
I hate it.
Scott didn't like it either. He said it would haunt him.
Yeah.
It's the lips. It's like almost.
This does remind.
duck face.
Yeah. This reminds me of what I do. So I'm pumped up for a show though. I go to the bathroom and I listen to "Lose Yourself" by Eminem.
I want to believe like it's hard for me to believe that's
No,
true.
I don't do
and
that.
I want to believe it's true.
You got me.
I got it.
I can kind of picture you just being like,
I put my hood up and I lose myself in the moment. Mom spaghetti.
I feel like you have a pump up song that's probably like not as embarrassing as that.
I think Eminem should use
more
this
words.
as his Mom spaghetti promotional material.
Doesn't he have a restaurant or something?
He got a
does
spaghetti
he?
restaurant in Detroit now.
Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti. They come in little Chinese takeout containers too.
Yep.
All right, what's next? I think there's one more.
We got to get Danny DeVito to eat at Mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, it's a
And then I'll complete the meat. I do like this. I like
Dwayne
Dwayne
The Rock
Johnson.
Johnson. Oh yeah, it looks really natural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. He reminds me of Stone Cold.
Yeah. There was a bunch. If you go to Arcane memes, there's several Stone Cold ones too. There's like Stone Cold Steven Seagal and like Stone Cold Steve Brule. Oh my God, there's just so much silly shit on that page. So if you ever just need a chuckle, having a rough day, Arcane memes. They got a little something for everybody. Thank you, Scott. What's your favorite, Lauren? Erin, did you have a favorite? Can you pick a favorite?
I like the Dr. Dre Spock one, but I forget what the pun was.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre. That's
Dr. Dre.
I'm gonna go with Jim Curry.
Oh, Jim Curry. Jim Curry gets another vote. Excellent.
But I also feel like Danny DeVito was so upsetting that I almost want to vote for it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many things that could happen.
No, I changed my vote to Danny DeVito. I'm gonna
All
have,
right, cool.
nightmares about it. I fear and respect you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, get it. Go, make it go away.
I turned a corner. I hated him and then I loved him. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you look at it long enough, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Lauren is a professional writer. You successfully made good on your word. You're like, you're living in Chicago, you were doing stand-up, you're like, I'm gonna write for a living, I'm gonna move to New York, I'm gonna do it now. And you did. I helped you move that bunk bed to Harlem, and we had pink drink, and you talked about what you were gonna do. And for just a short time, you had to nanny to pay the bills, but then before you know it, you were writing, you were live tweeting television shows like pro wrestling. You were doing like Monday Night Raw and like trash TV shows like what was the Scandal show, or what the fuck was it called?
Well, it was a lot of Real Housewives, and then what was the show? It was called Revenge. It was like a
Oh,
weird,
yeah.
like it
So
was
you're
kind
like
of
live
like
tweeting,
a
right?
soap opera type thing. But I did Revenge recaps for a while.
Oh man, and then
What a
you
weird
know,
time.
you got to write all sorts of different things for a lot of freelance opportunities, but then you kind of landed with Fatherly for a bit, where that was when you first started writing kind of men's health focused stuff, correct?
Yes, I kind of like. I guess, well, technically MTV, because MTV was initially my
Right.
with the show Guy Code, and they had like a digital team that would do like bloggy stuff that would kind of like cross promote episodes, because like that was kind of just the era, and that was like the demographic they were trying to get to. It was very like, I wouldn't say like, it wasn't like the earliest internet, but it was early enough internet where it was like everything was kind of just, those mediums were just kind of there were a lot of like overlap. So that was very bro bloggy. It wasn't necessarily like science or health or related to journalism. It was a lot of like, how do like get a girl to talk to you kind of stuff, and like listicles and like riffs. And fortunately,
super broy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I like worked with dudes that weren't like gross, like they were actually like thoughtfully trying to reinvent that like media, like to go about that kind of stuff. Like Ryan, why am I'm drawing a blank on his last name. But my old boss, he was just a very good first like editor in that way. But that wasn't. So it was more of a natural transition to Fatherly than random, in the sense of like it was kind of a guy space, and then kind of following the
You're pitching stuff to dads all the time, right?
What's up?
Yeah, you had to pitch stuff to dads all the time at Fatherly, right?
It was very much a sitcom. It was like my most sitcom job like I've ever had, in the sense of all of my coworkers were dads, except for like one younger dude who was like my little work buddy. His name's like, and it was just like this group of dads. We would go out drinking. It was very like it was very stand-up. It was probably like the first job that I felt like stand-up really helped me prepare for, in the sense of like I was in a lot of rooms with a lot of men, and I had to kind of like be funny to get them to listen to me kind of stuff. And like my first sort of consistent like pitch meeting environment, like I would go to some pitch meetings at MTV, but most of my pitching, which is like where you like basically throw a story idea out there and how you would execute it, was done like via email, because I was like more contract freelancer. But this was like the first time I was going into like weekly or daily like meetings where I was like, hey, everybody shut up and listen to me, so, but it was really like, it was fun and interesting and like memorable. And then there were some things where you're just like, this is probably not like horrible, but like not a normal work environment.
Yeah. And I think that where you're at now, Mel Magazine, and like just some of the articles I've read of yours, like through the years, you've demonstrated time and time again, you can research the fuck out of something. You are a journalist. Yeah. You can interview people and put together a very cogent article and like a very focused kind of approach. But you always somehow manage to make it funny too, like while informative, which is, I think, probably a more difficult balance to strike than like you make it seem, because like it just kind of comes a little more effortlessly to you. kind of like Jake roasting Eminem in the comments.
I know. I just saw that.
Just, he's a natural roaster. It's probably what Eminem looks like without stage makeup now. But yeah, like you're able to provide a lot of really well-researched journalistic approaches to all of your writing, but like you still have your voice in there. Like you still have like your funny like quips and stuff that you're able to like without taking away from the actual scientific material that you've like put in the article. So is that something that you feel you've had to hone or it just came naturally?
I definitely took some honing. I definitely like credit Fatherly a lot with that, in the sense of like that's kind of where I learned it. So I was always, at least in my early stand-up, like and before I really became a writer, just very obsessed with late night. And I always, and monologue jokes in particular, they're very mathematical, they're very formulaic, but they're like, there's something about that like that makes them interesting and fun to practice. So I was always practicing like that kind of stuff. And then writing for the internet and kind of like a newsy, it's like kind of, I don't want to call it clickbait, but it was from that era of clickbait in terms of like you have to work at a pretty high volume. You have to publish a lot. Media kind of ebbs and flows in that like direction every couple of years anyways now, but like I've been in it a lot. But so there's basically a good way to do that, and in my opinion, and a bad way to do that. And I think humor helps in the sense of like there's a lot of information out there that's helpful to people. Like could probably make their lives better that we're gonna miss, like that a lot of people miss out on just because it's not presented in the right way. So in terms of like health, science, mental health for men, I think a lot of that is stuff that's already in the women's self-helpy space that's just presented in kind of too much of a cheesy, touchy-feely way that it's just not helpful. And then I think that then there's like a lot of stuff in the academic space that's a little too dense, a little not conversational, like a little too boring. And it's sort of, I feel like in the men's space, like what works, at least I found best, is like taking those kind of things and fixing what is wrong. And at least what I found is that humor, obviously, data, a lot of times that's like where the research, there's studies on everything. And some of them are better than others, but you can at least interrogate that and like see certain trends. A lot of like just Google trend stuff. You can like look at how patterns and how people search things. And then like skepticism too. I think that like people want to like learn. Therapy is probably one of the most, because I'm very pro therapy, but people want to understand how it works and like really like see it like broken down and like look at all of the pieces and like see like what they're paying for. And I feel like I understand. I feel like that's an important thing to like to consider in presenting these stuff, so people like trust you as a journalist and trust the information that like you're not gonna just say that this is all good or there's not some limitations or so it's I'm still figuring those things out, but I think that's been really interesting as like that's the part of my professional life I enjoy, and I do think that it helps me as a person in the world, in the sense of like I'm really just looking for stuff to help myself too. And and if it like if I find it helpful, if I can present it to other people, like
Yeah, like some titles from Mel magazine, for instance, just depressed or anxious. There might be an app for that after all. Like something like that might give an individual that like doesn't have any sort of those conversations going on in their life an opportunity to be like, oh shit, there is something that can help me that's like right in my pocket. But then there's like titles too that are like the only relatable thing about the Johnny Depp trial is the revenge poop. I mean, like that's something that I'm going to click and I'm going to read. I'm going to do it. I'm no shame there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that in that article, I'm gonna have a moment that I'm like, damn, that's like pretty profound. Like I know that's from 3 weeks ago.
I don't know about that, but
But sure. But I mean, like, there's probably something in there though that's important to be discussed, because so many people are just clipping bits from that trial, throwing them up on a page and like as fodder to laugh about or whatever. And like, there's a lot there that's not getting discussed that should be getting discussed, you know, like about mutually abusive relationships or codependency and the intersection with substance use. And like, there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of getting like just joked about more generally. And I haven't read this article yet, but I bet you touch on some of those other things rather than just the fact that, yeah, it's funny that there potentially was
I will say I don't, and I think that brings up an interesting point to media, is that like sometimes you have to write about this stuff, and I'll like with there's nothing in that where I'm like problematic
philosophizing
name on, but at the same time, like I wouldn't have chosen to write that article. It was one of those I pitched the angle, but because this is something that's in the media, so like that's being shoved down our throats so much that and this is like one of the downsides of like working on the internet is like a lot of people, like you still have to get clicks, so it's like how do you come at that in a thoughtful way? And honestly, at least right now, the position I'm in, I don't have the time to come at those things in the and that's not my choice. That's just like my job. So it's like I'm not going to touch those sensitive subjects if I'm not confident in the fact that if I can give them the thought that they deserve. And that's a tricky thing, is so yeah, I wouldn't touch on any of those subjects unless it was like a Q&A, or unless I had an expert an expert driven thing like that, and that's a personal choice of like mine. I'm not saying, but well,
yeah, you definitely talk to a lot of experts in other articles that you have written, like the one that's what is it called when you get depressed after you accomplish something big? Like, you're talking to some professional psychiatrists and therapists about those topics and stuff, and kind of dispelling, debunking, demystifying some of the information that's out there. And I think that's what's important about many of the pieces you're writing. Even though it is for your job, they're doing a lot of good, I think.
Sure. I just think that like the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp of it all, I feel like probably if I had to guess, the more responsible thing would be for people to stop writing about it. So it's like, it's not that I regret putting that out there. I was doing my job and nothing was harmful in that. It was just taking like a piece in a detail that was like going viral and like making it about something like a little bit more broad. But like if I had to speak to like that, I'm like, yeah, I think it's just like, that's like that's the struggle of like what, like I feel like sometimes why I don't like what I do. And I think that there's like probably a version of that in every field, but like it's hard to negotiate that. And I don't necessarily feel like it's always like simple in that regard, unfortunately. Like I guess and that's hard when you're not working for yourself. That's one thing I appreciate about the freelance like lifestyle, which is a little bit like less stable, but you can just not write about things you don't want to write about. And then when you're like on a full-time staff at a place, you kind of just have to like pick your battles a little bit more. And that's kind of, tricky.
Yeah.
What do you call the anxiety you get when everything's great?
There's not really a word for it. I don't know if you're just reading the headline or actually asking me.
I was reading the headline and asking.
Cherophobia is the closest to it, but it's just basically like, it's a CBT thing. It basically just means you don't believe that you deserve to be happy, essentially, which is great.
Yeah, and there's lots of shit just from this past week. So your volume that you're putting out with Mel, like I'm a super fan, and I'm not even able to like read all the stuff that you put out in a week. It's amazing that you're able to like put out so much out in a week. Because like just in the past week, How to Catch a Gaslighter in the Act, Standing Like Superman Makes You Feel Like Superman, like really cool readable articles, because they're not like super long either. Like I think a lot of times people will get a lot more out of the length of articles that you're putting out there than maybe like a New York Times fucking blah blah blah, like just going on and on. You know what I mean? An expose. Do you feel like that to be true, or would you like to have like longer form stuff too?
I prefer the longer form way. I don't like the churn and burn method. It's not fun. I don't like necessarily feel like I stand by my work as much. And that's like I was like uncomfortable with the poop thing, and like felt the need to sort of speak to that. I would like, and this is I think a battle a lot of people go through, and in sort of creative staff positions of wanting space and support to really do good work and not always feeling like you get that. So it's tricky. I don't think there's a position I think where I would be turning around 9+ articles a week where I would feel like that would ever be my best work, and that's kind of difficult right now. It's like a part of my schedule right now.
Yeah.
That probably is why stand-up continues to be so fulfilling for you as well, though. And I know you have other writing projects, like you've been kind of hoping to do a book someday, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm kind of coming at it from like a really trying to sort of work out this like burnout issue I've been struggling with since probably for like a good couple of months, and sort of just like get to a place where I enjoy writing on my own. And it's hard to carve out time for that, but I've been really like trying to do that the past like couple months. Whether it's like waking up at 6 a.m. and doing that before I start my work, but that on top of stand-up, I mean, it's a lot. So I don't think I'll be able to sink my teeth into what I'm working on now fully until I make some bigger changes. But I'm starting to sort of at least consider that,
Yeah, that's fair. That's real.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And you keep crushing it like you crush Gabagool.
Yeah.
So we are about out of time, and I want to let everybody get on with their afternoons and share this stream around and stuff. But before we go, is there anything coming up that you want people to know about and want to come check you out at?
Let me look at my account. I'm at Blackout. So I'm at Laugh Factory this Tuesday at 8. And then
Blackout Diaries Tuesday at 8, folks.
Laugh Factory is
Sorry, Laugh Factory. That's my bad.
Laugh Factory is this Tuesday, and then I have a park show at Humboldt Park on Friday. That's like I think it's like the one you guys. I think it's the same, the porta potty one. That's at 7 o'clock on Friday, and then Lincoln Lodge Blackout Diaries at 10.
Cool.
Oh yeah, double header, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I guess Laugh Factory again Saturday at 7:30.
That's cool. Double Laugh Factory this week. A little outdoor action. Follow Lauren Vino, Box Vino on Instagram. Are you Box Vino on Twitter too?
No, just Lauren Vino on Twitter.
Lauren Vino on Twitter. Oh, we got a question from Jake Willis coming through. So Jake, can you see his question there?
No, but what?
Here, I'll read it to you. All right. So Jake asks, does the writing gig allow you to take breaks, or is it just the financial thing keeping you from pausing for burnout?
I mean, a full-time writing job, at least in my experience, doesn't allow for a ton of other writing. I would either have to like pull back on shows, so it's like I can't even blame my like current employer for that. But like having a full-time writing job usually makes it difficult to write anything other than like bits. anything like longer form. I'm not saying people don't do it. It's just that like if I'm not sure. I already don't really have a social life, so yeah.
Our social life is kicking it with mom and her roasting us.
Yeah, which is nice.
Which is pretty funny when mom's in a mood and she's like, she takes on that roast style. She's pretty good at it. Pretty good. Yeah, go see Lauren Vino. Listen to her on podcasts. She's out there on podcasts. Listen to or go read her work at Mel Magazine. Maybe one of these days you'll release a comedy album. I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to.
Comics do that, right?
What's that?
Comics do that still, right? They put out albums and stuff like that.
I would like to do that at some point, but we'll see.
That'd
I
be
ever
sick.
get time.
Maybe one of these days we'll do the podcast we talked about when we were living at mom and dad's and we were just like wearing bathrobes and we're like, we should just do like a really like sad us podcast in bathrobes. Maybe we'll do that one of these days. I don't know. Anything can happen, babe.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
You had me at bathrobes, man. Bathrobes are no deal.
Yeah, back rubs. Okay. Back rubs. Bath rubs.
Back rubs.
No,
bath rubs. Bath rubs.
Yeah, you're right. It has to be bath rubs.
Bath rubs. That's gross.
Okay. All right.
That's
bath
gross.
robe.
Bath robes or nothing.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good either.
No, I just mean no deal.
No deal. No deal.
Well, this is
and also check out Paper Machete anytime Lauren Vino's on the lineup because that's at the Green Mill and that's a cool ass variety show. And I've been loving seeing photos of you on the Green Mill stage doing your thing. That shit is cool as fuck.
yeah, that's my favorite one. It'll probably be a couple months before I get back, but I love it there.
She'll be back on that Green Mill stage for the Paper Machete, and if you don't know what that is, you can go check that out on your own. But this has been awesome. You got anything else you wanted to say?
No, not.
AC? No. We're gonna go walk our dogs. All of us are gonna go walk our dogs because our dogs are like, "Come on, man, we gotta go." So, for that's us for today. The Tomorrow Show on the Hope for Us Network. You can tune in a couple weeks. We're gonna go back onto our regular every other week schedule. Thanks again to everybody that did the Stream for Hope Cup, and follow Hope for Us Network on all social media. Yeah. Thanks to our guest Lauren Vino. We'll see you all again soon. Thank you, Scramsky, and all the viewers.
Thanks, viewers.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye, guys.